What concerns do you have regarding AI, if any, of the future? Being someone, as knowledgeable as you are with data and its integration, specifically within business and the decision-making process, like what are kind of your red flags, shout from the mountaintop, that we should be talking about, be concerned about, and have discussions about?
Well, I think the first thing is recognizing that AI is not a panacea to solve all your business's problems. I mean, as a consultant, I've been in enough situations where, the CEO says, we're going to do all these things with data and make these great proclamations to Wall Street. And all of a sudden someone in the back of the house says, right, how do I make these things happen, right? And the technology isn't there. Our skills aren't there. Our people aren't there. So, I think that's where I start to get concerned. Someone just thinks the magic's going to happen when they start to do things with data and integrate into their systems. But at the same time, organizations that are so far the other direction, we don't have cloud computing, we don't have data scientists, we don't have engineers, so we're not going to do it at all. I think they're equally as poor off. I think what you have to do is, I think any organization getting started has to start to pick small, simple, demonstratable use cases and start to learn about the data they collect. Look at the data, do an analysis, compare that analysis with what they would have done historically, and just start to learn and iterate from there. Right. A lot of people talk about data like building data product, right? You have to try to treat these things like in a lab, like an R&D setting, try to understand how it works, and then scale up and scale out as you develop proficiency, and that'll help them make some decisions. And I think organizations that don't take that serious, people that oversell. There's a couple examples. I won't say companies, but anyone can look them up. There's been examples of companies who've led with AI and done commercial campaigns around AI, and they've fallen short on promises. There was an article written, I think Wired wrote the article, and they were basically talking about one of these technologies was deployed in a healthcare setting, and people with cancer thought they were going to be cured because there was the magic of this AI that was going to solve and cure their cancer, and it doesn't work that way, right? All the models we're doing at that point in time was just reading all the literature on cancer and helping doctors make a better diagnosis. It wasn't curing cancer. It was helping them process all the information about cancer that was out there. So that's where I start to get concerned. We start making these promises that aren't reasonably fulfilled. And then we start turning on models that we don't understand what they're doing. And it's not like it's not intentional or deliberate. It's like someone gets started, they think it works, and then they walk away, and no one's really kind of checking on what's going on in the back room.
Yeah, I listened to this interesting podcast between, I don't know if you're familiar with Sam Harris. He's a podcast host, a neuroscientist, and an author, and he had this computer scientist named Eliezer Yudkowsky on, and they were just talking specifically about artificial intelligence, threats, concerns, positives, and Eliezer used this interesting example about a paperclip manufacturer, and if you were to optimize an artificial intelligent machine to produce as many paper clips as it possibly could, it is going to do that at the cost of everything, right? Because that's its one objective function, is to make paper clips. If it has to use, unchecked, use every single available resource in the known world to produce paper clips, it is going to do that. It will kill you. It'll kill your friends. It doesn't matter. Its one goal and function is to do this thing. So that if you take that example to any other situation, like you do need to have a control, or at least a group of people that it's not just a light switch, right? It's a light switch with constant assessment, reevaluation, like you said, taking into account new information you're collecting over a time period to reinform the original decision-making process so that it adapts to make more informed choices, not just choices. And it seems like because it's such a popular thing, integration of artificial intelligence for business, that unless you have a responsible group of people taking that on, then maybe it does pose a risk. So like, how do you instill values around AI integration and uphold kind of a standard from company to company to company, despite competition, to make sure that these types of things are done in the right way? Because that to me seems like the challenge.
Well, I think a couple things. I think first of all, what one of the things I find, maybe comforting, if you will, in the process is inevitably someone who understands the technology gets pulled into the conversation.